Welcome to another episode of Healthcare Connections podcast, powered by Healthcare Compliance Pros. I am your host, Jeremy Winn. Our purpose for this podcast is to introduce you to key topics and experts in the healthcare industry to ensure you have what you need to successfully manage your practice. Please subscribe and follow us on our social media channels to make sure you don't miss any new episodes. If you have recommendations for guests or topics for this podcast, email me at jwin@hcp.md. With that, enjoy this episode of the Healthcare Connections podcast. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Healthcare Connections podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Winn, the Director of Sales and Marketing at Healthcare Compliance Pros. We've got an exciting guest today, somebody that's been a good partner of ours and their whole team. And we've got Andrew Goldfein. He's the Vice President of New Partnerships at Alpha Aesthetics Group. And if you haven't heard of Alpha Aesthetics, you're going to learn a little bit about them today. But they're doing some very unique and great things for the med spa and aesthetic space. So welcome, Andrew. Thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Jeremy.
Yeah,
And
for
I
sure.
appreciate you lining up the pattern of your shirt with your artwork.
Absolutely. This is a digital background, that I'm trying out on the last few shows. But yeah, again, the marketing side, right? Unintentional, but maybe it's just this natural fit. Yeah, I love it. So, Andrew, I'd love give our audience a little more thorough introduction and background of yourself, and what led up to you eventually joining with Alpha, and maybe a little more about your role, particularly there.
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, I'm with Alpha Aesthetics Partners. We're building the leading network of medical spas and aesthetics practices across the United States. Today we have 13 partners in 27 different locations. And so when I joined Alpha, we really only had our first founding partner, which was Aesthetic Center, founded by our CEO, John Wheeler, and his father-in-law, who's a facial plastic surgeon. So it's been a phenomenal journey for the past little over 2 years. I'm actually celebrating my 2-year anniversary here next week.
Congratulations. Is that when they send you the Lexus? Is that after 2 years?
I think we just get like some sunscreen, but maybe the Lexus is it.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I'll talk to Karen about that for you.
I'd appreciate that. That'd mean a lot. But what attracted me to the vision of Alpha when I joined was really three-pronged. It was, so it starts with our private equity backer, Thurston Group. They are one of, if not the most successful investors in what we call physician practice management, the PPM space.
Yep.
This is their bread and butter. They've done it with, numerous companies and to really successful events and built some of the largest companies in dental. They're building them in mental health, in medical weight loss, but always with providers and physicians. So that was number one. Number two was our CEO, John Wheeler, is an industry veteran. So he built and scaled a med spa over the prior 7 to 8 years, built it into a 3 location, one of the dominant med spas in the Sacramento market. So he's very passionate about the industry. It's a family business for him. And then third was just the ethical component that came with everyone who I met. It's the right people. They want to bring the right attitude to this space and make sure that everyone keeps in mind that sometimes when money and healthcare come together, the outcomes aren't always great, right? And what's really important here is that everyone we work with, every practice we partner with, from when we meet them through when they become Alpha partners, that it's the number one place we'd recommend to our own family members if they're looking for services. Everything's done to the highest clinical quality standard as well.
Love that. That's a great introduction. I appreciate that. Really good insight. That three-pronged reasoning is awesome. And having met John and Karen and many others on the team, I can echo some of those feelings and thoughts. I've been just so impressed with everybody there from the beginning. So appreciate that. So let's jump into kind of first question topic that I have for you. Obviously, everybody that's paying attention in healthcare has seen just this massive growth in the aesthetic space, and med spas seem to be popping up everywhere, all of the time. We're seeing different specialties start to add on some aesthetic services or start a sister company that is a med spa that's, in the same building but separate enough, to meet the requirements of their state, whatever that may be. But everybody's trying to get a piece of it, and there's lots of reasons why that we don't necessarily need to dive into for this episode. But with so many jumping in, many don't have a background in healthcare. Some are entrepreneurs that again are seeing the opportunity, and so
Mhm.
they're trying to find a way to get a piece of that market. What's the value, for groups in this space to partner with somebody like Alpha Aesthetics Partners?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a great question because we didn't, go fully into this in the introduction, but my role is to bring in the new partners to Alpha. So, we talk to several hundred med spas every year, and a small percentage of those are really what we're looking for in
Mm-hmm.
potential partners. So we're very, very selective as far as who, just basically who Alpha is the right fit for. We're not right for everyone, and we're okay with that. But who we find that we can bring the most value to are really ambitious, growth oriented, usually providers, sometimes business owners who are non-clinicians who feel like they're running into their ceiling. So whether it's a combination of needing capital to buy new equipment and expand, whether it's just time, right? I mean, you're seeing patients, you're dealing with a growing business, you're dealing with HR issues, financial issues, whatever it may be. We're able to bring an expert team to take a lot of that off of the owner's plates. Um, and then really the other special part about Alpha is the network. So
Yeah.
we've partnered with some of the leading clinicians in the space, some of the best business minds in aesthetics, and built a true community and network within Alpha where everyone is aligned, incentivized, connected to help each other grow. Um, and I mean, it even comes down to like something as important as your financial structure, right? I mean,
Right.
everyone owns in each other's practices through the structure that we've created at Alpha. So they're not just going to pay lip service if you ask a question to one of our partners. They're financially invested in making sure that you get the right answer. And aesthetics is so different from any other healthcare space that I've worked in, where there's so much new technology at all times, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe it has FDA approvals for one thing, but everyone's using it off label, and the reps are always going to tell you this is the latest and greatest, but
Yep.
you really want to rely on that network to know, should I spend $250,000 on a laser or on a device, or should I try out the new toxin that's coming to market? And so we have an amazingly talented, knowledgeable group of partners here at Alpha who are all helping to guide one another to make the right decisions there.
I love that. I love the model of kind of the shared
Mhm.
success with revenue and outcomes, because it creates that family environment where one group that could be on one part of the country, another group over here, right? And though there's they may be doing some different services when there is overlap, right?
Mhm.
What are you learning over here that I need to know before I look to add this service or buy this equipment? I love that. I think that's incredibly valuable for your members and your partners.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
one question I had, so you did go into some of the attributes. That's one thing I wanted to ask is, what are
Mhm.
you looking for in potential partners? You talked about growth minded, people who are trying to do this for the right reason, I think is a big part of it. Is there anything, any certain size of group that you're looking for? I don't know if it's, certain revenue,
Mhm.
you know, to where you start looking at them seriously. That's one other question I had for you.
Sure. Yeah. So for Alpha, we're typically looking at practices that have reached a certain size. A big portion of that comes down to just we want this partnership, which has a transaction element to it, to be really exciting for our partners who join. And typically, it takes getting to a certain scale to make that work. So for us, we found that to normally be somewhere in the $2 to $2.5 million in revenue and
Hmm.
above threshold. Um, and for Alpha, we have a couple of other key criteria. So we try to do as close to zero insurance as possible. Some people are very comfortable in that
Right.
world. We love the cash pay aspect of this and
Yep.
the freedom it gives us, and not being beholden to reimbursement cuts and negotiation and everything that comes with that.
Yep.
I've lived that world for too long and happy to be out of it. Um, you know, we look for people who we can grow and possibly even do new locations with, right? Who maybe have a great brand, a great team, great culture, and it's something that we can, with our team and with our capital, grow around. And then there's a smattering of other kind of financial metrics and criteria. But if you're a cultural fit, if you're a financial fit, and if you're a strategic fit with Alpha, then typically the rest of it's going to take care of itself.
Yeah, and you're dead on about trying to get away from reimbursements. Again, that's
Mhm,
why you see other specialties trying to add aesthetic services because they're trying to grow the percentage
mhm,
of their revenue that's not tied to reimbursements. We're seeing that, you know, an optometrist the other day, that we talked to mentioned I'm adding some aesthetics services, and that's the first time I'd heard optometry. We've
mhm,
certainly seen it in dermatology a lot. ENT, we've seen it.
mhm.
Dental's obviously,
Okay.
doing a lot of that. So it's been interesting to see some of our clients that are in specialties that I probably wouldn't have thought of as a
Mhm,
natural fit to start adding some aesthetic services. So you're dead on. We're seeing that all over the place as well. One more question to that: Is there are you focused on regions of the country? Are there areas that are more appealing traditionally than others? I know in med spas, especially around compliance, there's a lot of things to consider in certain
mhm.
states that can be more challenging, I would say, to operate a med spa due to state regulations. So I'm just curious if there's certain regions you look at,
Mhm.
or are you really kind of all over the U.S.?
Yeah, so we're fairly national, but I would say we have a big focus on building within the markets that we're in.
Okay.
So we like to really, get with the couple of strongest providers in a given market, and then kind of build into adjacent markets from there. To your point, I mean, that makes it a lot easier to stay compliant on everything that's happening because it's truly, I've worked in several medical specialties, dental, surgical, dermatology, right? It's truly the Wild West in terms of, in a state like Idaho, you barely even, I don't even know if you need any sort of medical license to be able to inject as long as a doctor will do it for you. To, states like California or, some of the other ones where there's a lot more restrictions on who can fire lasers and things like that. So, yeah, we want to be able to build density in the markets that we're in. That's a smattering. I won't list them all out, but
Right.
if any of your listeners are interested, they can go to our website, partnerwithalpha.com. We've got our whole map and all of our partners on there.
Perfect.
Um, but it also allows us to provide really meaningful support, so that we don't have our people flying all over, and they're not in Fargo one day and Santa Fe, New Mexico the next day, right? They can be more focused, more intentional in the markets that they're in. And then also, like I was saying at the beginning, it's really about building that network, that community for us. And so even within our practices, they start to really organically develop these relationships when they're physically located closer to one another. So it's a big
Okay.
focus for us.
Love
Mhm,
that. Appreciate that. You mentioned earlier, I want to touch base on this Thurston Group, right? And just
mhm,
how they've been incredibly successful for a long time. Um, and you also mentioned that sometimes money and healthcare, when clashed together, doesn't always generate the best outcome. And we're
mhm,
certainly seeing that in headlines right now. There's lots of headlines that show the success and the value of private equity in healthcare. There's certainly the opposite side that will try and tell you that this is such a bad thing for healthcare. Getting private equity involved, and there's probably cases where that is true, absolutely on both sides.
mhm.
But you are private equity backed, and one of the things that we noticed, when we partnered with you was I think being private equity backed and because you have such a focus on doing things the right way,
Mhm.
that you guys are really raising the level of compliance in this space. Why is that such an important mission? It seems like it has been from the get go for Alpha.
Yeah, no, well, we've really appreciated your partnership in doing that. You and the HCP team have been incredible in just running down whatever smattering of questions we've thrown your way and coming up with really thoughtful solutions for us. Um, to us, I mean, one, I just think it's core to our ethics, right? We want to do things the right way. That, yeah, it comes from everything at Thurston Group, which
Yeah.
has, two members of their leadership team are clinicians in themselves. One's an orthodontist, Dr. Dana Fender. One's an endodontist, Dr. Mark Young. Um, they've built numerous healthcare companies too, and they're always preaching the importance of really strong partners, great quality, strong integrations, right? And let's just go quality over quantity here. And then once we're there, let's get in and do the hard work of raising the bar for everyone, right? And for us at Alpha too, and to our CEO John, it's really really important to him to make a strong impact on this industry or specialty that we're in, and he wants to see that bar get raised as well. So I mean, med spas, aesthetics, like there can be a little bit of a reputation for operating in some of the peripheries. And to be honest, I've certainly seen that in some of the practices that we've talked to. But there is a right way to do a lot of this stuff, whether it's clinical compliance, whether it's financial tax compliance. And for us, it's really important to find that right way and do that, because that's going to up level the entire industry and really separate Alpha from everyone else as far as building the premier platform. So one of our core values is best in class everything, and that extends to compliance here as well. So candidly too, I mean, at some point Alpha is going to go through what we call an equity event, right? Or we're going to sell a portion of the ownership in Alpha. That's going to give all of our shareholders, of which all of our partner clinicians and business owners are shareholders. And when we do that, we're going to get really deeply diligenced, right? I mean, they're going to
Exactly.
look under every corner, and we want to make sure that we can say, hey, on all compliance fronts, we're extremely buttoned up here.
Yep. Love that. Appreciate that. And I'll mention again for those that are listening, if you're interested in talking to Andrew, inquiring, if you feel like, hey, I could be a great fit for Alpha, partnerwithalpha.com is the website. I think you can find all the contact info that they need there, right, Andrew?
Yeah, exactly. You can hit a button, connect with us. You'll hear from either myself or my partner in crime, Tyler Stewart, who's phenomenal to work with and will really be a great resource on your journey. And yeah, we'd love to hear from anyone who has an interest in pursuing this partnership, even if it might be early stages. If we can provide advice at any point, we're happy to do that. And then we learn from everyone who we talk to. So we always really enjoy those conversations.
Okay. Andrew, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on and telling the Alpha story. It's again, you guys are growing quickly. You're becoming, you have been a leader and you're becoming even more of a leader in the space, I think, as a group that people are looking to as an incredible model. So thanks for being on today, and we may have to do this again here when you guys get a few more partners under your belt and have you back on to celebrate continued growth.
Yeah, let's do it. Always great to talk to you, Jeremy. It was great to see you in Vegas a couple weeks ago at AM Spa there
Yep.
and get the time in person and have you over at our booth. So yeah, thanks so much for inviting me on. And yeah, I hope that your listeners got some valuable tidbits out of this.
Great. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Healthcare Connections podcast. For more information on the topic we covered today, you can reach out to me or to our guest. For any additional information on healthcare compliance pros, feel free to email me at jwin@hcp.md. Don't forget to tune in next week. Thank you.